Hey everyone, welcome to episode 127 of the Ceres podcast, hosted by me, Stelios, the founder and director of Ceres Pure Food Innovation. Today I'm joined by Paul Gunning, the head chef and owner of Purslane near Edinburgh. Firstly, I'd like to apologise to all the listeners and to Paul about the delay in getting this episode out. We recorded a couple of episodes a couple of months back with numerous people, and since we took on the keys and a few other things that you'll hear about shortly, it just became a little bit hectic. So on top of all that, we took the keys, we've been doing loads with the website and new product development. I had a wisdom tooth that decided that it now wanted to come out in my 38th year of age. It was incredibly painful, and as much pain as I was in, everyone else seemed to like it. The fact that I was quiet, so it wasn't really a good time to be doing podcasting because I couldn't really talk. So a little bit of Ceres news. Our fulfillment center is now up and running. We've been working on our website to also make it easy to use. We genuinely love the feedback. For example, this Monday morning, a customer messaged me and said, "Hey, this could be better." We looked at it. Our web team got on with it. By the afternoon, it was done. So if you've been on our site and you think there's something that needs fixing, let us know. For those of you that order off our website, there's some great news. The sweets are back. With every purchase, you get a little packet of sweets. However, in some of those sweets, there is a little token, and there's a little prize in there, whether it's a discount code or whatever. Not everyone will win, but hey, you still get the sweets, and that adds a little bit of fun to your day too. If you are on our mailing list, you'll be getting this month's offer code in your inbox. To join our mailing list, just see the show notes and sign up there. Only takes a minute. To see what we've been up to and how many of our solutions can help you, visit worldofceres.com/shop. Most orders are now shipped on the same day for next day delivery. That's including pallets or parcels. Joining me on today's episode is Paul Gunning, head chef and owner of Purslane in the stunning area of Stockbridge on St. Stephen Street. This fantastic restaurant is the epitome of rustic casual fine dining. Purslane serve a large variety of freshly prepared dishes, delivering an intense high quality of flavour with every mouthful. Paul's career has seen him work everywhere from London to Brittany via Australia, so regardless of what you decide to eat on the day, you're guaranteed to be in good hands. I personally absolutely loved my chat with Paul. He had loads of Star Wars figures behind him. My son was obsessed with those when he saw the photos later. And also, I think what I did really appreciate about this conversation is, that the story about that great TripAdvisor review that he had, where people came from abroad and he sat down and, just by chance managed to make it a really special evening. And, as he freely admits, he couldn't literally do that for everybody, but every now and then you can make it extra special than it was going to be. And I just think that's a great story. And I also love this story about when he was in New York and, he just sort of, managed to have a really great time just by chance. And I think these sort of stories are really what I like to enjoy listening to. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Paul, because I think he's a really great guy. Just a really great guy. And, thank you to Craig for introducing me to Paul. Again, two great people. So yeah, one last thing. If you have any feedback for the Ceres podcast or just Ceres, and you'd like to suggest a guest or anything, any feedback, we'd love to hear it. You can either hit us up on all our social media feeds or email me at stelios@theworldofceres.com. Paul, welcome to the Ceres podcast.
Hi, great to be here.
Mate, it's great to have you on. I have heard so much about you, and I've spoke to you a couple of times, well, once on the phone, and we've just had a little pre-conversation, and I must admit, so far, the image of you is quite correct. Our mutual friend Craig Smith hasn't stopped talking about you.
he's a good guy,
Well, you know why that is, don't you?
I trained him, so yeah.
Well, no, I was going to say it's because he's from Nuneaton, so he's a southerner, you see. So how did you whip that southernness out of him? So, many may know, many may not know, but you're from Purslane in Stockbridge, near Edinburgh. Tell us a little bit, how did you end up there? And I'm really intrigued about the name of the restaurant. How did that come around?
The short version is, it's quite a long-winded version, but basically, when I went to college and I was learning to be a chef, my main ambition was always to have my own restaurant. And you've got to go on that journey to get the experience to have get to the end, whether that's having your own restaurant or being a head chef in a big hotel or a Michelin star restaurant. You've got to go through that journey to get that experience to get there. And I was working in a chain restaurant. I was applying for head chef jobs, was getting told you've not got enough experience. So I applied for a chain restaurant and they gave me this head chef job. And it was one of the worst 18 months of my career. I hated it, but I did it to get experience. And then I decided it's time to leave. And I had two options. At the time, I was looking at the restaurant called Redwood, which is now Purslane. And it was either that or go to Japan and work in Tokyo. So it was two totally different options. And I was in conversation with the owner of Redwood, and I thought, it's either now or never. This is a good opportunity, and I decided to go for it. And that's basically the story of how we came about 10 and a half years ago now.
Were you not tempted to jump on a plane and go to Tokyo then?
Yeah, do you know what? I love the idea of going somewhere where their culture's totally different from the UK. The language barrier, the reading, the writing, the actual culture itself, it just fascinates me. Obviously, the food scene in Tokyo is it's fantastic. So there wouldn't have been an issue getting work or fitting in that with regards to that. But yeah, I just thought that challenge would have been great, and one day I will get there to visit, not to work. But that was the two routes. And in life you get these choices, and you're like, okay, what way do I want to go? And I've never really looked back since opening. So yeah, I'm more than happy with the restaurant.
Do you think? Did you stop yourself from rushing to doing your own restaurant first? Were people saying to you, slow down, you'll get there? Did you have the opportunity to do it sooner, or did it come at the right time, do you think?
I had the opportunity sooner, but I'm very level-headed with regards to I don't know enough yet. I still don't, but at that moment 10 years ago, I'd been a chef for 15 years. And I felt that I had enough knowledge with regards to cooking that I could do that. What I was lacking was actually the business side of the knowledge. I could run a kitchen, that's no problem. I could cost dishes, but you're no longer a chef, you're now a restaurateur, and you've got to learn, about taxes, paying the bills, paying the staff, setting up all these processes that you normally wouldn't do as a head chef. You've got the restaurant owner or the hotel owner or the business that takes care of all that. You just need to look after the day-to-day running of the kitchen. That was a massive learning curve. Thankfully, I had a few friends that had their own business and could direct me here and there. But yeah, a lot of it was learning myself and get myself out of some situations that I'm like, how can I get finance here? How can I do this when, banks aren't wanting to give you more money and you've not got enough customers coming through the door and you're worrying about how can I pay the staff, So that was probably a little bit more naive. I was expecting to throw the doors open and the customers would come pouring in, but it's never like that unless you're a big name and, a massive celebrity in the industry, or you could have a successful not chain but numerous restaurants, and customers would come because of past exploits and such. I never had any of that, so yeah. The first,
I guess you work with what you've got ultimately, don't you?
Exactly, yeah. So the first few years were tough. Had a few really good reviews, which brought more customers in, which. There's one reviewer out there. If it wasn't for him, I probably would be closed. It did make that much of an influence on the restaurant, which I can't even understate. And
was that like a large paper or something, a large newspaper, or
yeah, it was the Scotland on Sunday. So it was it was a supplement on there. There was a food supplement, and the reviewer, Mr. Richard Bath, he gave us 9 out of 10. And wow, like the phone literally didn't stop for about a month. Just people trying to like get a table, lunch or dinner. It didn't matter, If we were full, they were like, "When's the next availability? We'll take that." And it was for me. It was a proper eye opener of the power of the reviews as such, But yeah, no, that was one of the big moments in the restaurant's career. It was pretty powerful, to be honest, when I look back on it.
So the opportunity came up for Stockbridge. What's Stockbridge like? It's close to Edinburgh, but not in Edinburgh. So what's the food scene like?
Oh, it's in my opinion, you've got, it's about 10-minute walk from Princes Street and George Street. It's almost like a little community in itself. But you've got all these independent restaurants, cafes, bars, shops. There's probably 1 or 2 chains that are there. You've obviously got your Starbucks and your...
So to those that don't know, it is Edinburgh then? It's like a little suburb of Edinburgh then?
Yeah. So what you find is that anyone from Edinburgh that doesn't want to go out in the city centre on a Friday, Saturday where it's just going to be mobbed, they'll go to Stockbridge or Bruntsfield, and they'll go to these areas that are just outside the city centre as such. But let's say it's 10 minutes walking. It's not 10 minutes in a car. And you get this nice little local vibe. There's very rarely any trouble. It's just a chilled, relaxed place to go and have some nice food and nice drinks. It's lovely.
Nice. So you've set yourself up in this nice little neighbourhood feeling. And how was it recently? So you said the first few years were a struggle. So then you probably find your feet a little bit, and then COVID lands on your doorstep. So did you feel sort of going into it, I'm ready for this because of what I went through earlier, or was it just completely different for you?
A bit of both. So when I opened, it was 2011, so we're still in a tough time in the UK. The recession, the housing crash, and I remember my accountant saying, "Paul, if you can get through this recession, you'll be able to survive anything. Time should never be this tough." Fast forward, 10 years, and I've got that ringing at the back of my head. But I was more prepared for it just with the longevity of the restaurant. If I'd only been open, say, 2 or 3 years, I think I would have struggled a lot more with COVID. Mm-hmm. But the Purslane's only 20 seats, or it used to be 20 seats. Now we've reduced to 16. So we are a small restaurant, and in the beginning, that used to be our curse. We get a lot of people coming down and they're like, "Is this it? It's a shoebox." I kind of coined the term for us, casual fine dining. I know you hear that all over now. But we want to give good food, good drink, good service without the pomp and ceremony and everything else that you would associate with fine dining. And we wanted to make it affordable. And I think when you have people that generally eat in high-end restaurants and they see the white tablecloths, the waiters in uniforms, we didn't have any of that. So I think they were a little bit unsure when they first came down. But when they sat down, they got the service, they got the food, and they got the good wine list, it changed their mind. So when we hit COVID, obviously I've got this shoebox. So my overheads aren't as big as what it would be if it was a 100-seater restaurant, and I've got all these staff, and so it was a lot easier to manage because of the size. So yeah, that was a big help for myself in the restaurant, especially during the last 2 years.
Do you see yourself going back to the 20-something covers, or have you changed the business now to accommodate for the less covers? Sorry.
Yeah, so we've. Before we had an a la carte as well as a 5 and a 7 course tasting menu, and the option was when I first opened, I did want to do a 5 and a 7. I didn't want to have to do an a la carte, but as I said before, I wasn't a big name. I'd never had a reputation, and I didn't think people would come just for a 5 and 7 course tasting from an unknown chef in an unknown restaurant. So that's why we offered a la carte. And we didn't even have the tasting menus on to start with. They came after 3 years, I think it was. We started introducing them. So when COVID hit, due to a number of factors, obviously reducing the covers, we dropped a la carte. So we didn't have as much to spend on food costs. We could be a lot more stringent with the food cost of prep and focus on 7 dishes rather than 15 dishes. So we feel that the customer's getting a better experience because we're just focusing all our attention on that menu. And then we're going to keep it at 16 covers. It was a little bit tight with the 20 covers, so we've lost the 2 tables, and we're going to keep it like that. Because we only offer the tasting menu now, we do want customers to have a little bit more room. We only do 1 sitting as well. We don't turn tables, so we do 6:30 to 7:30. Everyone's in that hour, but you have that table all night. So if you want to take 10, 15 minutes in between each course, you can do. There's no problem. If you want to sit at the end of the meal and have some nice digestives and some coffee and just chat and relax, yeah, we don't have that worry of I need that table back. They've just ordered cheese. Oh, what we're going to do with this table of 2 that's turning up in 10 minutes? So we don't have a bar area, so there's no holding area. You come in, you sit down, that's it. So we've done away with that. We've done away with that awkwardness and pressure on our part. And again, if someone's spending a lot of money going 7-course tasting plus matching wines, the last thing we want to do is make them feel rushed at the end of their meal. That's the last thing they'll remember. And, if it was myself, I wouldn't be happy at that. So we don't want to do that to our customers either. So going forward, yeah, we're keeping the 16 seats and the tasting menu. So, yeah, I feel it's a lot better business model for the size of restaurant we are.
Yeah, and I guess you don't open lunch times, do you? And I guess you
do. We do. Yeah, we're open lunch as well.
Okay.
So we have the lunch menu as well as the tasting.
So 1 sitting at lunchtime again, obviously. Yeah. I guess. And again, is it a smaller lunch menu?
Yeah, so we've got 3 starters, 3 mains, and 2 desserts.
Okay.
But yeah. Again, some days we'll have the restaurant full for lunch, just doing lunch menu. But other times we come in and they'll all go tasting menu as well. So there's no rhyme or reason to it.
So I guess in my mind, as a non-chef, just break it down for me. Going over to a fixed menu, let's say. Tasting menu, does that allow you to be more creative and also just get rid of any sort of trimmings, any waste, because you're using everything?
Yeah. So we obviously just now, not only COVID and Brexit and all these other issues that are challenging the industry, one of the major issues is staffing. And if thankfully over COVID we never lost any staff. We're actually doing pretty well for staff and staff morale. But if I did lose a chef, it means just focusing on those 7 dishes for dinner rather than the 15. It just makes the kitchen a lot more streamlined and the prep a lot more manageable rather than maybe doing 15 dishes and struggling with a couple elements because just timing. And the kitchen's tiny as well, so we've got the times we get certain elements on to cook, and we've only got 1 oven, so you can only do slow cooking at a certain time, and then you need it for service as well. So it's that whole managing of the kitchen space as well. So if we're only doing 7 courses, that's a lot easier to manage with regards to the equipment and the space that we've got available to us.
I guess one part of me wonders, and again, I'm not I'm not an expert at these things, but I was thinking earlier when you were saying how you got 1 sitting at night, I was sort of thinking to myself, imagine if everyone came in at the same time. And I guess it would be a stress on the kitchen, but imagine that sort of wow factor when everyone's food comes out at the same time. But,
do you know, this thing, like we are only 16 covers. So
it does feel a bit like that, I guess, then.
Yeah, but it's actually better for us because we then treat it like a big table of 16.
Okay.
Rather than there's a table of 2 coming in there going 7 course, there's a table of 3 coming in there going 5 course, then another table of 2 and another table of 2, they're both going 7. Oh, here's another 4, they're going 5. So you've got all these different timings for each course that's going to go out. Whereas if everyone comes in at once and they all go 7 course, it's like a table of 16 all going 7-course. But I think sometimes the guys in the kitchen, they forget. We do get that rush. It does happen within half an hour. We've got a whole restaurant. But again, it is only 16 people. We've worked in restaurants that are 100, 150 seaters, and every like 15 minutes they'll take maybe 20 covers. So yeah, it's for that hour and a half, we get our heads down, we concentrate, we do service. So it's not too bad,
I guess it's all relative. The fact is there's 16, but there's less chefs. So, you might, let's say there's some 300-400 seater restaurants in Edinburgh, but they would have the ratio of staff to deal with that too, wouldn't they? So
yeah, so, that's exactly it. There's been a few times due to illness or family problems that I've actually done a full restaurant myself, and myself and a KP, and that's why I've got grey hair. Literally from this is when we were open from 6, so from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. I'd be doing the 16 covers, but it'd be all 7-course tasting menu, as well as the canapes, the bread, the amuse, all the way through to the petit fours at the end, not included in the 7 courses. Wow. And once I'd done the clean down, there was a big glass of Viognier waiting for me, so it was well needed. But again, the worst case scenario, if I need to do that myself, I'm able to do that,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I didn't enjoy that, but sometimes it's nice. Just I can still move, I can still do it, I can still organise, but it's nice to have the other chefs.
I guess the buck stops with you. You're the boss. You're the owner. So there's really no excuse for you not to do it. I'm not saying it would be perfect or acceptable, but you did it. You did the best you could do. But yeah, I guess that's the best thing you can do, isn't it, really?
It's funny. I mean, that night, one of my waitresses, Iga, she came through at the end of the night with a glass of Viognier for me. And she goes, that was amazing. She goes, not once did we have to wait for a course. And everything was ready. And I turned around and goes, why do you think I get so frustrated when I need this food to go and I get told it's going to be 5 minutes? And I'm like, why is it not ready to go when I ask for it, Or why is this not right? Why is that not right? Then I think back, I can do this, It's like, why can't you just focus on that and get that done,
I guess sometimes also when you have a situation like that, and I've been in it when I used to run some family businesses, is that you have a good shift like that, or you manage, or it's not as chaotic as you think, and then you think, wow, we should do this more often. Why do we have so many staff? And you think, that money's mine, and you think no, because then everything. That's when that's the dangerous game, I think, isn't it?
I think right now we've again we had all the troubles at the start, with getting trained staff. We never had the business there to have the trained staff, so we had to. You mentioned Craig; he was with me at the beginning, and we would all chip in. There was only myself and him in the kitchen, but we were then washing the dishes. Sometimes I would have to serve food as well. Craig would be cooking; I would have to serve food. Whereas now, thankfully, we have the business there to justify having a restaurant manager, a sommelier, an apprentice waiter, and then we've got three chefs in the kitchen. We're about to get a fourth, just to cope with holidays and just the extra custom kitchen porter. And it's nice having those extra members of staff because it means we've all got a life. When I first started, as a chef, you got a badge of honour if you're doing 18 hours a day and you're doing 100-hour weeks. And I was happy to do that when I was younger, but now I'm in my 40s. I don't want to be doing that. I want to be spending time with the family, my friends. If I need a Saturday night off, because it was my sister's engagement party a couple of weeks ago, I was able to take a Saturday night off because I had staff. And likewise, if they need a Saturday night off to go to a family event, it's no problem. We do 16 covers on a Wednesday, we do 16 covers on a Saturday night. It's exactly the same. Whereas obviously Fridays and Saturdays in the restaurant trade you can't have holidays, you can't have time off because that's a busy period. But we're the same every day. So if you want a Saturday off, it's fine. It's not a problem,
You've built in consistency almost.
Yeah. And one of my chefs, he's from London. I've known Dominic for 22 years. Again, he's one of his chefs doing extraordinary amount of hours a week and having no life, and it's just a grind. And he came up to Edinburgh to help me out for 3 weeks. And at the time, one of my chefs handed a notice in, and he asked, "Are you looking to replace him?" And I was like, "Yeah." So we had a conversation. He was happy to join the team. Obviously, a lot less money than what he was on in London, but I was up front. I said, "This is what I can afford," and he bit my hand off. He's like, "Fantastic." He does maybe 40, no more than 45 hours a week, sometimes less than 40. He's got that work-life balance, and he's doing good food, happy customers, happy chefs, nice kitchen. There's no animosity. Everyone comes in, we have a laugh, but we get the work done. Front of house are a good team. I like to think we're a really nice restaurant to work for. We get amazing customers, amazing feedback, and yeah, we're all just on one little happy team, but we're all pushing in the same direction. Yeah. And again, everyone does the same hours. We're all doing 40-hour weeks. And if anything, COVID's opened our eyes up to what's important in life with, try to spend more time with loved ones, more personal time as well. I think we neglect ourselves, we try and fit everything in. Sometimes you just need that day where, you know what, I'm going to just sit on the couch and watch a box set, or I'm going to go down to the gym and do an hour down there, or whatever your passion is, and I think we need that for our own mental health as well as our own happiness,
So as a business owner, as a head chef, you're also a leader. You lead people. And I know it sounds corny, and I think a lot of people don't see themselves as leaders, but they are. And I think the reason why people think it's corny is because there's a lot of books about leadership and everything. But my question is, I guess, to some degree, is how do you lead your people? Like, they obviously, from what you're saying, they sound happy. They're happy to be at work. How do you make them thrive, aside from the fact that you have built a business that sort of accommodates everyone's life needs? How is it that you then get them to sort of give 110% when they're at Purslane too?
I'm a great believer in leading by example. So if the kitchen porter, if he's on holiday, or I'm lucky he's now been off sick, but if he's on holiday, he's got days off, I'll jump on, I'll do the dishes. And they see that. It's not like I'm standing back going, jump on, do the dishes. I'll jump on, I'll do sauce, I'll do larder, I'll do pastry, I'll sweep the floor, I'll mop the floor, I'll polish cutlery. The only thing I don't do is polish glasses. My hands are too big, I smash too many. So again, I help with emails, I help with admin, I help my restaurant manager if he's looking for new suppliers with regards to front of house. I'm always there. What we've started to do now is make our own limoncello, our own little liqueurs using seasonal fruits. Nice. Now, that was my manager's idea, and I was like, yeah, go for it. And his question was, what if it doesn't work out? I goes, well, it doesn't work out, but we don't know until we've tried. And yeah, the fact I give them a lot of free rein to everyone at the restaurant kind of treats it like their own, in a good way. And
they're not leaving their clothes on the floor.
Well, in the changing room, it gets pretty messy, but it's like. But I think the fact they all care about the restaurant, and they're all thinking, how can we make this better? What can we do to take it to that next step for the customer experience? And it's the same in the kitchen. If anyone's got ideas of what to put on, we'll get the stuff in. We'll cook it and we'll see, and we'll go, yeah, okay, let's do this as a dish, or I'm not too keen on that as a dish, but you see that element there, let's use that in a different dish. So they all feel part of it, rather than just going in and going, right, this is a menu, this is what you're doing, almost like a dictator. I'm quite open to everyone's feedback and anyone's ideas, and I think as a leader I listen. So I think that's how we get the best out of everyone, including myself.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. And I think I read somewhere, I can't remember who it was, and it was a restaurateur, and he said that customers are important, but staff are more important. It goes, because if you've got happy staff, you've got happy customers. You can't have one without the other. And yeah. And I think, you see a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to keep customers happy, but the staff are miserable. And you think it's so much hard work at that point, because if your staff don't want to be there,
totally, yeah.
You can't make that work, can you?
I'm sure you've worked in places with the exact same, where you're going into work, you've got the butterflies in your stomach. What kind of mood's the chef going to be in today? Is he going to be in a good mood, or is he going to be in a bad mood? Is it going to be a long day? And I think when you've got that demeanour when you're going in and you're apprehensive about going to work, you're not enjoying it, the end product necessarily isn't going to be great either. There's nothing. There might not be anything wrong with it. The precision might be slightly off. Your mind's not there. But when you've got a happy brigade and a happy front of house team, the customers can tell, especially front of house. I think I imagine you've been at restaurants before and the waiting staff are maybe a little bit just on edge or whatever it is. You tend to pick up on these things. Whereas if something's wrong, are they dreading going into the kitchen to say, "Chef, the customer's not happy about this"? If we get anything comes back, or the waiting staff have got any kind of feedback, I'm very receptive to it, and I'll happily go out, chat to the customers and hear maybe any points of view they have, or how happy they were, or if they weren't keen on an element of a dish or a dish. And the one thing I'm is receptible to my waiting staff. I'm not going to shout and go off the handle. The customer, what do you mean the customer wants the venison loin well done? It's so I think that's what we try and do. We've got happy staff, happy customers, and I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and I think they have to go hand in hand. You can't, in my mind, you can't have one without the other. I used to work for my dad, and he was typical of that. Head chef. He was the owner of the business. It was fish and chip business. He'd walk in, and you didn't know what sort of mood he was in that day.
Yeah,
and I think everyone was then like, "Ooh," and I think that can scare people, and it does give, as much as people want to be happy, it gives the atmosphere this dense feeling, and you think, if I speak a bit loud, is he going to be upset? And then next thing you know, it's like you're not speaking loud enough to the customer, and you sort of actually you've gone the opposite way.
You've gone more withdrawn.
Yeah, and I think being that sort of dictator, and he is like that. He'd laugh about that now, and I just but he didn't ever understand how that made others feel. And I guess we've all probably done that to some degree over the years.
I think, especially when I first opened, obviously I had a lot of stress with regards to opening and running a business. And I would say now I'm a lot more relaxed than what I was back then, because I obviously wanted to make a success of it. And I think sometimes staff forget you're human and you've got other things going on in your life that you might not necessarily grumpy or in a bad mood, but you might be slightly distant because you're thinking, oh, well, I've got this going on or that going on. And then you don't necessarily want to share those private pieces of information with your colleagues or your members of staff. And I think I might have been a wee bit harder to work for back then because of all the stress and the pressure. But at no point was I ever shouting at anyone or rude to anyone. But I think sometimes, just in your normal workplace, when you walk in and you've got your manager or the boss or whoever's in charge, and okay, you want to either impress them or get on their good side and show that you can work, you can do the job, and no matter what job it is, not necessarily kitchens or the restaurants. I think we've all got that. At one time or another, we're like, especially when you're slightly younger and probably your first job or second job, it can be slightly intimidating meeting these older people that have got more experience. So now I'm conscious to make an effort of trying to put people at ease when they come in for the first time, especially if they're younger members of staff. We try and have a little joke and a laugh with them, get them to interact and do the same back. Okay, I might be the head chef, might be the owner, but I'm not saying I want to be everyone's pal, but I want to at least let's all have a laugh.
You're not pretending to be their best friend, are you? You're just trying to put them at ease at work, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know what? We'll have a busy night, and we'll all have a wee beer in the kitchen as we're cleaning down, or a glass of wine, whatever anyone wants, and then or we'll go over to the pub and we'll have a few beers there on a Sunday night when we're closed. And it's just that team bonding. We're looking to go go-karting. We've done paintball. We'll all go out for a meal. We've not been able to do it as much, but we always try to do something every month, every 6 weeks. And it's just a case of it's a thank you for me. It's all taken care of, but it's like, thanks guys, thanks for your hard work. Should we go and eat somewhere nice, or let's go spend a day playing paintballing or go-karting or whatever it is, golfing if you want to go golfing, or I always leave it up to them, like, what, any ideas, So I think it's a nice way of saying thanks to them, you know.
I was listening to a guy on a podcast this morning, because when I'm working in the warehouse or whatever I'm doing, I always listen to things. I don't really have a lot of quiet time. And he was saying, they said, how would you work around people? And he goes, one thing I've always done, he goes, and he learned it working at Apple, he goes, I always say thank you. Because he goes, because if you think it, I should say thank you, say it. He goes, because what ends up happening is you don't say it. Because you can never say thank you enough times to people. He goes, so if in your mind you think, I should say thank you to that person, just say it. Because if you just leave it there, I should say thank you to that person, and you don't act on it, you don't actually say it, and they don't feel like they've been thanked. So, and it was really interesting. And he just said, because I've learned, like, you can never, if someone's done a good job, even if they've just done their job, at the end of the week, he'll sign off with out there because they've got like WhatsApp groups or whatever, and he's like, "Thank you, everyone, you did a great job." Like, and he said it goes a long way, just to end, So it did make me think like about appreciating people, and the old adage says, a thank you goes a long way, doesn't it?
I think that, and saying good morning and good night to everyone as well.
The basics.
I not necessarily in the kitchen I'm in just now, but in the bigger kitchens, I've worked with chefs that have done it, and I've done it myself. You go around and good morning. Very first head chef, Jeff Bland at the Balmoral. Now it's 5-star hotel, probably 40 chefs at the time, maybe if not more. And he would go around everyone saying morning and shake your hand, and everyone's like, morning chef, head down, working away. But it's exactly what you said, like the thank you goes along. So does the morning. He's acknowledging you, rather than just walking past you and who's that? He's coming in by name. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Damien. Good morning, whoever. It's like, and it's same if you're there round about, he'll say, "Oh, good night." And I think just general courtesy, just acknowledging someone. It's I think sometimes kitchens get a bad reputation because of this. It's a high pressure, fast environment. And when I've worked, not necessarily in Purslane, but when I've worked in other kitchens, I say, listen, things might get a little bit, it'll sound like they're getting heated, but they're not. And we don't always have time to say please and thank you. So it might be, can I get the carrots? Can I get this? Can I get that? I need this. If I was to say please and thank you every time, you're not going to have enough time in the evening. So it might sound curt, but once you realise it's nothing personal, it's just asking for something to come up. I think that's a very...
I guess that's why in your element, then, it's really important to have those basics, the hellos, the thank yous, the good mornings, the byes, the thank yous again, the sorries, if there need be. Yeah. All in a time when there's no pressure, and explaining when there is pressure, and then later you can pick up on that, can't you? But I think yesterday a friend of mine sent me a video, and it was of a new starter at a pub group, and he actually put a video of a young lad who just started there, and he was like laughing, saying, I guess it was a bit of fun, saying, "Oh, look, we're making him do like whisk water," and the kid was just there whisking water. And obviously, it's not nasty as such, but I guess in today's world, it would be seen as bullying. And especially as the fact that he put it on Facebook as well, and then there was loads of comments as well. And I thought to myself, he clearly didn't read the room. I sent it to a few people, and a few people also sent it to me, and they were like, what do you think? And I said, I don't know. I just feel a bit uncomfortable. I've done worse in my time. Don't get me wrong. But that was that time. And I'm not saying that was okay either, because it probably wasn't. I just think if you look at now, you're trying to get young people into the industry, and that person now is whisking water while actually other chefs are behind him laughing. And I just thought to myself, now, the problem is with that is in isolation, that probably wouldn't have been a big deal. If you didn't share it on Facebook, it would have just been a bit of a team building thing.
Exactly, yeah.
But if there was no communication, like good morning, welcome, how are you? But it was just, go whisk the water. You can see how that would be perceived as bullying.
Yeah.
But if you then top and tail that with good morning, how are you? All of this, the niceties.
It's a fine line where, you could definitely perceive that as bullying. Now, I used to work on building sites when I was younger with my dad. He was an electrician. And you can imagine the pranks that would go on the building site. And I think as I've got older and we're working in a more modern age just now, it's we've got to be a little bit more cautious of that as well. And yeah, I think when in a younger kitchen, I see that stuff going on all the time. Whereas in my kitchen, I'd be like, oh, like cut out. I can see, maybe if it was a couple months down the line, and you're all kind of playing pranks on each other or winding each other up, and you're all. I think when you're part of a team, if you've ever done any team sports, you kind of build that camaraderie and
by
team
ribbing
together.
Yeah.
I worked in a really good restaurant, Auberge de Lac, down in Hertfordshire, and we had a lot of chefs in there, and it was one of the hardest kitchens I've ever worked in. And you know what? Some of the best moments are when we were playing pranks on each other. And again, would that be seen as brilliant? It probably would be out of context, but when you look at it in the way that we were doing it, it was nothing malicious, it was nothing hurtful to anyone. When I was working sauce, my mate Loz, he was on fish, and I used to take about a half an hour break every day, apart from a Saturday, because Saturday was the one to concentrate. But he used to work every day until a Saturday. Now, he lived on staff accommodation, about a 5-minute walk away. So he would leave, he would go for a shower, freshen up, and he'd come back. And that used to really, really annoy me. I was, because it was a Saturday and just no break, I was just working through, but I'd take a break every other day. I used to replace his, I'd go into his fish fridge and I'd put all his scallops and his prep fish all in the back in the fridge for the fish section. And I'd just replace it with trays of carrots, cover it with cloths, and trays of potatoes. And so he comes in, he gets his pot set up, he gets the spoons and everything set up, and he's ready, waiting for the first check. And then the first check comes on, it's like check on, like 2 scallops and whatever for the men. He opens up his fridge, takes the cloth out, and there's this bundle of carrots there, And for that, because I knew for the next 3 hours, 4 hours, I'm going to be too busy to even concentrate. But for that minute there, it gave me a proper little chuckle, and everyone else had a little chuckle because he thought he was set. And you know what? He would do the same to me. It's like for like. But I think as soon as someone gets upset or take it the wrong way, that's it. Stop it. I put my foot down. But it's a fine line sometimes.
I guess that's not bullying, though. That's just a bit of fun. That's genuinely, you've just moved some of his food out. Now, if you did it every day, and that would probably start to become a bit like,
Oh yeah,
come on.
yeah. That was just one. I remember hearing a story from a head chef. He was working in a big hotel in London. He had to cook 40 lobsters. God just caught me a chef there, and he had to go to the fridge. He said, "Right, cook these lobsters. Whatever you do, don't let them turn pink." Okay. So he came back, and here's this big pot of boiling water with these lobsters. He's like, "Oh!" So he grabs them out, starts taking these lobsters out of this big pot of water. And he's like, "Where is he?" He couldn't find them. He said about a month later, he bumped into him in the pub, and he goes, "Oh, what happened to you?" Because 1 minute you're there, the next minute you're gone. He goes, "Yeah, but he said, whatever you do, don't let them turn pink." So as soon as I seen him turn pink, he goes, "I've just cooked like 10 lobsters, they're all in pink." He goes, "Oh, the cost involved." So he just left. he just ran away, and because I met him, So it was, but for just that little wind-up comment, he just left the work, So things like that. It's just it goes on in every kitchen. But he wasn't expected to be in the fridge as long, so he would come back, and then when he was, these are gone pink, he was there to then smetty and explain what should have happened. But that's it. It goes on in every kitchen, but
no, it does, and I think obviously in the hospitality industry now, especially in the kitchens, there's a shortage. Well, in every job in the UK, there's a shortage, and people want to be paid more, they want to do better hours, and they want to be treated a bit fairer, and without making it sound like we're old and tough and they're young and not so tough. The generation has changed. The people have changed. They don't. Yeah. Some may see all of this as what we're talking about now. We might be old farts and we're generally bullies, and I understand that point of view too. But I don't think we are. What we're talking about is a bit of fun.
I think it's reading the environment as well. And I've worked in building sites, I've worked in factories, I've worked in kitchens. I worked in. Used to do paintball as well. I used to be a marshal at paintball many years ago, and I remember. If you were to take a kitchen full of guys, the atmosphere is a certain atmosphere. But if you put a couple of ladies in there, the language tends to tone down, maybe the chat tones down, which is fair enough because you don't want anyone maybe taking the wrong context or getting upset about maybe some of the language or whatever, which is good. That's that. But it could be the same if someone's religion or someone's football team, or these are things people are passionate about. So yeah, it might seem a bit of a joke joking about someone's football team, but if they're passionate about that and they're going to get upset about that, but that's it. We don't talk about that in that kind of way, But it's the same in the factory. When we were in the factory, there was a big mix of people, all different ages, all different nationalities, and male, female. And I remember my manager, a lady called June, she was the worst. She would try and embarrass me. I was this young 17-year-old, and the language, I was like, I'm thinking of my mum speaking like, what are you doing, talking like that, but she didn't care, and none of the other work staff there cared. It was all that kind of that's an adult environment,
Yeah.
But if I took offence to that and I said, "Oh, listen, please," I'm sure she would have said, "Oh, sorry, it was all done in jest rather than to offend,"
Yeah.
But it's definitely changing.
Over the years, the women I've worked with were always the ones that were like ready to have a laugh. They'd stick up for themselves more. They'd give you some stick, and But again, it's all about reading the room, isn't it? You've got to understand what the audience is, and
exactly.
And are you in a factory? Are you in are you in a development kitchen? Are you in a real kitchen? Are you in a fish and chip shop? Are you anywhere? And you've just got to read the room. And if someone's sensitive, you've got to be attuned to that. I remember years ago we employed a girl. And she never spoke, never. Like, she'd come to work, she'd talk a little bit to customers. She was polite. She was never rude, but never spoke. She'd go on a break, enjoy your break, nothing. Like, you never got anything back. And I remember her mum coming in and saying, I forgot the girl's name now, it's over 10 years ago. She's like, I'm really grateful for you giving her a job. She's really happy. And I was like, really? Because she doesn't ever speak. And she's like, no, she genuinely loves the job. And I was like, oh, okay then. So then, another month goes, and I think it was like, no, maybe it was longer. It was like, she must have been with us about 6 months, and she was a nice girl. And she then left to go to uni in London. And then her mum comes back and goes, we're really, really grateful for what you did. You gave her a job. And I was like, why are you so grateful? It was just a job. And she goes, no, but she's autistic. And I was like, for fuck's sake, why did nobody say anything? Like if they told us something, like we could have actually dealt with it. But like every shift, although we're pleased with her work, nobody knew. Like, you talked to her, try and make conversation. There was no conversation. Like I said, she'd be polite, but she'd probably just sit there and watch. Like now, if we're talking to each other, she'd be at the side of us, just watching, like not aggressively or anything, just taking it in. Okay. And I think that's another thing that we've got to be aware of these days, that we just don't see what others are going through at all.
Well, I've had it recently, actually. It was my partner's nephew. He came to work. He was just turned 18, and he was he's 17, 18, quite quiet. But he was just washing dishes for me, and I was like, "Well, what's going on here?" Like, obviously, we don't just use the same plate. We've got all these different kind of plates. But he would take maybe one, wash that, then he would move some and stack two, then wash that, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" But he's slightly autistic as well, and I didn't know this. So I said this to my partner. I was like, I don't really know how he's getting on because of this, that, and like I say, it should be an easier kind of job as such with regards to being a kitchen porter. And she goes, well, he's slightly autistic. I goes, what did you not tell me that for? Then I would have been able to, I would have understood, and I would have been able to direct him in a different way, But yeah, I think, again, that's just been aware and hopefully trying to get as much information as you can. But it might just be someone shy as well, or whatever, But I think what I like to do is I like to, after the first shift, any new start front of house, back of house, I always like to just say, how was it? How'd you find it? And you're doing well, just keep that up. Or maybe look at this when you're working away. I'll show you tomorrow, we'll do this and that.
Yeah.
And but then I also, as we go on, maybe after the first week, then the first month, and then if I see they're kind of struggling, I'll just pull them aside. I'll have just a conversation, and a few pointers. And it's never anything serious. It's always like, hey, what's your thoughts? How are you feeling? And it's amazing the amount of times people don't tell you until you have that conversation with them. Oh, I'm really struggling. I don't think I'm doing this right. It goes, no, it's fine. But if anything, they're setting their standards like way too high. And I'm like, listen, you've just started being a chef. You know, I'm not expecting everything to be like perfect the first time. Because what you're going to do is you're going to go on a journey where you're going to learn this like knife skills or cooking skills or, you know, whatever it is. I goes, but practice, you'll get there. And you see them getting upset because they're not, like, if I do a rocher of ice cream or a rocher of butter, theirs isn't perfect like that, and they get upset. And I'm like, I'm not expecting yours to be like that. But if you don't do it, you're not going to get better. So what we do is we've got like a little packetized container of butter, and I'm like, just start practicing, put it all back in, let's start again, you know. And yeah, they get, especially young chefs, they get upset because they feel like they're letting you down, and you're like, you're not. You know, it's my job to get you to this point where you're competent, and it's only by repetition and practice and experience you're going to get there, you know. But yeah, that's probably one of the best parts of the job, when you see inexperienced members of the staff coming through the door and you see them gaining that confidence, and that time when they do that rocher perfect, the first time you see it, you're like, wow, look at that, that's it. You've set the bar now, you can't let it go below that, you know.
And I guess that's when you hold them to account a bit more, when they have learnt it through repetition, and then they've done it great for 30 nights in a row or 30 shifts, shall I say, and then all of a sudden they come in and it's a bit tardy, let's say. And I guess that's when you probably be like, hey, John, Sarah, whichever, like, how did that go wrong? You know how to do this.
Exactly.
That's when you're a bit more, 1 minute, come on, let's have a word about this. Yeah.
That's when the kind of changes from mentor to manager. You're kind of like, I know you can do that. Mm-hmm. Now, why are you not doing that? Is it because you're tired, or you can't be bothered, or what's the reason that you've not done that as you should be able to do it, you know? But yeah,
I was at one restaurant recently. No, it wasn't recently. Actually, it was pre-COVID, which feels recently. And he's similar to you. Doesn't open every day of the week. Has a lot of rest time for the staff, 44 hours or whatever. No one works more than 40 something hours a week. So yeah, bottom end of 40. And he's very, very obsessed with. He's like you. He's a good leader. He's a good manager of people. And I was there one day with him chatting, and we were going through some bits. And a lad comes in, he's really like lethargic and tired, and he's not doing the crabs properly. And you can tell, like, I could see that the person I'm with is getting a bit aggravated just watching him. He goes over and says, "Look, are you okay? I'm just really tired." He goes, "Well, look, you've had 3 days off. You should be well recharged. Go take a moment, have a coffee. Take 15 minutes." Have a coffee, a cigarette if you smoke, whatever, and come back ready to go.
Yeah.
So he comes back again, like, not with it. And he just lost it. He just said, like, that's it, leave. Right, he didn't sack him. He just said, come back tomorrow. And we cut our meeting short, and he went and did the job. And I could see where the frustration come from, because he was saying, I'm trying to accommodate by doing less hours, but when you're here, I want 110% dedication.
Totally,
yeah. So I think that's going to happen a lot more as chefs like yourself start to say, look, we're going to do less hours, but when we're here, it's got to be laser focus.
Yeah, totally. And I think as a business, we can, if we are cutting back hours or opening hours, and we have got to be that 100%. I get, I've worked in places where we've been like a 6-day operation or 7-day operation, and you're doing a lot of hours, and you're coming in, you just naturally are tired because of the nature of the beast, but yeah, you can still strive for that. And I always think whatever energy I've got coming in the day is like, if I'm walking in a restaurant, shoulders are slumped, I'm kind of, I've just got that, I can't be bothered. Well, I'm going to be like that all day. Whereas when I come down the steps, or when I'm on my way to work, I'm kind of shoulders back, walking with a purpose, like coming in with that energy and enthusiasm. Especially as a head chef or owner, you've got to, because if you've got that energy, it'll pass on to everyone else. So, but when I've been a chef in other kitchens, I've always had that mentality. Even if I've been hungover or I've been tired, I kind of try and G myself up that way. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink energy drinks. I need like 5 coffees to get going in the morning. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I find once you start getting into the way you work, and your routine, for me anyway, it starts coming. And then when I stop, don't get me wrong, when I stop, that's me. You're lucky to get me going again, you know. I need to go to sleep or rest or whatever, you know. That's why sometimes I might be able to get a break, but I'd rather just keep working through it.
Yeah.
Because that hour, 2 hours is just like, then it's trying to get
I'm a bit like that. Like, if I go to the gym for a year, I need 4 years off. Like, I can't get myself back into that momentum, you know? But so one thing I see a lot on Twitter with chefs and restaurateurs and so on is it's been a thing for, I think, a while, but it's really flared up now. Well, the last couple of years, especially with COVID, is the no-shows. I think it was people tolerated it somewhat before COVID, but I think after COVID or during COVID, we're not after it yet, but I'd like to think we're towards the end. I think now it really sticks into people. It really bothers them. We were chatting on the phone, and one question I asked, and I'll ask it again, is for everyone to listen to, is what's your sort of ambivalence about, or what do you think, and your ambivalence and others' ambivalence in getting the money up front, do you think, or a deposit up front?
It's a funny one. We get, I think if you're genuinely looking to come to the restaurant, you're not going to mind paying that money up front. And I don't know, but we don't accept payment up front. We don't accept deposits or anything like that. Because we're only 16, we don't have that many no-shows, thankfully, you know. But we do get them. But it's more, just now it's more the fact that money's tight, and we do realise like life is getting more expensive with everything that's going on just now with energy and the fuel and food costs, and so we don't want to commit people to that. And you know what? If they're booked on a Saturday night and they phone up and they let us cancel, even if it's at 5 o'clock, yeah, okay, that's fine. You know, just phone up, let us cancel, let us take a walk in or take another booking. We've got someone on the waiting list. We'll be able to fill that space. Yeah, and I know certain customers would be, well, I'm going to come. Why do I need to pay a deposit? Or so yeah, that's why we don't do it. We just don't want to go down that road just now. I think if I was a 70-seater restaurant and I had maybe 5% no-shows every night, then I'd definitely be doing that, you know. And maybe going forward we might look at that. But yeah, just now it's something that we're not really keen on doing, to be honest.
I guess the experience with a restaurant starts the minute you make your booking. If I was to ring up and talk to one of your front of house and it's like, hi, welcome, and it's a bit jarring to say, can I have your credit card details on the phone, I guess. Whereas on a computer booking, online booking, whatever, it's sort of easy. You just, there's the calendar. Oh, can I have credit card details? Yeah. You know, so I guess to facilitate it, you'd probably direct people online. But again, that can feel quite faceless, especially when you're trying to make it a nice experience. And
exactly, yeah. But what we do, our way of looking at it is, rather than just, okay, we've had a no-show, we try and eliminate no-shows. So on our booking platform, the customer will get an email confirming their booking. Now, sometimes they'll book in person on like over the phone, and we don't get the email for whatever reason. But we always give them a call as well, just to remind them and confirm. And since we've actually started giving everyone a confirmation rather than just relying on the email confirmation, they've practically had no-shows, you know. The amount of times we actually phone someone up 2 days before and go, we'll just confirm your booking. I meant to cancel that, but they never. If it wasn't for that phone call, even though they've clicked confirm 2 days before, they wouldn't have turned up. So we give everyone a phone call and confirm verbally. And that way it also lets us confirm dietary requirements, any special occasion, if it's a birthday or anniversary, or anything we need to know about the booking. And I like that personal touch rather than there's an automated email, right? Okay, I'll accept that. I'm confirming I'm coming. Just that personal touch of phoning up someone and saying, "Oh, we're looking forward to seeing you on whatever night," you know. Yeah, I think we'll keep that going forward until it's deemed necessary that we will need to look at starting taking payments. But hopefully, we never need to, you know.
Yeah. No, I think that's a nice way of doing it, because you're touching base with a customer, and if they still don't turn in after that, they deserve to go on a blacklist.
They get blacklisted, yes.
Yeah. I'm not being, unless there was an emergency, and emergencies happen, obviously, but if you're touching base with them, and that's nice service too. They think, oh, they're rang up to see if there's any allergies, or they're welcoming us, to go on the Friday. They're looking forward to seeing us. That always feels nice, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's that. Getting that personal touch, and it's funny you when you're speaking to the customer over the phone. I do confirmations myself as well as everything else, or I take bookings. And when you're speaking to the customer and they're coming in, and you can hear their excitement, or sometimes they're just general monotone, and you're like, all right, okay, well, I don't know if they're too fussed about coming in, or but generally it's. They're excited about coming in. They're looking forward to it, and you hear that in their voice. And then when they're conveying their, by the way, there's a vegetarian in the party. Is that okay? Yeah, it's no problem at all. Or it could be vegan, or no gluten or dairy. You're like, yeah, don't worry about that. Just make sure, make your waiter aware of it when you come in. We've already made a note, but just so we know exactly who the intolerance is, and we'll do alternative dishes, or don't worry, it's all taken care of. And I think it puts the customers, especially if there's intolerances or allergies, it puts the customer's mind at ease. My partner, she's got a severe shellfish allergy. So anytime we go anywhere, we're like, yeah, can't cross-contaminate. It's not a dislike, it's quite bad. And when you've got, I was at a restaurant in Chicago, next, it was Grant Ashat's restaurant. And I sent an email saying, listen, shellfish allergy. And they came back and they were... so does that include squid, octopus, mollusks, everything? I was like, oh, that's the first time we've ever had a reply as in depth as that. And I was like, everything. And they're like, fantastic, no problem. We'll look forward to seeing you then. And it was going at that restaurant. It was good. I felt that I didn't have to explain. Yeah, we can't have squid, we can't have octopus, we can't have this, can't have that. So that put my faith in that restaurant, and hopefully we'll do the same when people phone us up with regards to that, or we phone and confirm their booking and ask about any allergens and intolerances,
A friend of mine yesterday was saying that one of the biggest reasons why customers either feel the need to complain or they were upset about something is the fact that something wasn't communicated to them beforehand. Mm-hmm. And that is a classic case, what you just said to me about the restaurant in Chicago, where they got back to you. They listened. They asked more questions. They wanted to make you feel relaxed, maybe, about, less ambivalent about going to that restaurant. Because if you have a shellfish allergy or any allergy, you're always going to have it in the back of your mind. Has this touched that? Has that touched this? Well, now you're sort of firmly thinking, no, well, we emailed them yesterday. You almost do give you pass your trust over, don't you? You have to, and if you still don't, maybe you should stay home at that point if you still don't trust them. But they obviously reached out to say, look, you can trust us here. We're asking you questions. We're aware of these things,
Yeah, no, totally. I remember we were in a 2 Michelin star restaurant in Spain, and we made that aware it was shellfish, and they never got back to us as in depth as what Next did. So we got taken into the kitchen to meet the chef and have I think we had 3 courses in the kitchen actually, and chatting away to the chef. It was fantastic, and we got these. It was like little savoury donuts. And they said, and this is blah, blah, blah. I was sorry, was a squid in this? And he's like, yeah, sorry, my fault. We can't have squid. Oh, I can, but my partner can't. Oh, no, that's okay. It's no problem. And then there was about 5 chefs up the back of this kitchen. The kitchen was pristine. Just quickly, I think they did like a Provençal vegetable savoury donut. And my partner was like, oh, no, please, don't go in any trouble. Don't get in trouble. But they're a 2 Michelin star restaurant for that reason. They're like, no, you're going to get a savoury donut, but we're going to do a different filling. And it was fantastic, and it opened my partner's eyes up to why they're too much. She was like, now I see why they're the level they're at. And it wasn't like, all right, okay, well, you can just miss that and you're going to have 2 of them. It was like, no, we're going to get you this course, and I think it was literally a couple of minutes later she had it, and it was never a big issue for us. It was just that was just a miscommunication, but it was the way they handled that. It was that was fantastic. Yeah.
So talking of stars and rosettes and everything, What's your sort of take on it all? Is it something you've ever been interested in? Is it something you've aimed for? Do you follow it? What's your thoughts?
I think, obviously, we follow it. But as a young chef, we all want to strive. And I know I did. I wanted to work in the best restaurants, the best hotels when I was younger. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't really have much of a food education. My parents aren't really into fine dining restaurants. Or it was more like a TGI Fridays or a Garfunkel's or Frankie and Benny's kind of. That's what they wanted to do when me and my sister were growing up. So when I started cooking, I wasn't really aware of the whole 3 or 2 or 1 Michelin star restaurant. I just heard this has got a good reputation. That's where I'm going to work. With hindsight, I wish I just went down to London and worked in a 3-star down there, or went to Paris and worked in a 3. I always say this to chefs. I'm like, start at a high level. It's easy to work your way down rather than starting at a lower level and trying to work your way up. So yeah, as a young chef, as I became more aware of the guides, the A and Michelin especially, you're looking at that kudos of having worked in the restaurants and working to that standard and that skill set. Whereas now, as a restaurateur, when I first opened up, it was always a name to get into these guides. Whereas now, I'm happy to have happy customers and happy staff. And you know what? We strive to meet Michelin standards, but if we're not striving to get a Michelin star. If a star was to come along, we'd be like, great, but we're not chasing it as such, And the AA, that's a different kettle of fish. We apparently now you've got to pay to get the AA to come out and review you, and I don't agree with that. I like the anonymity, I can't say that word, of the Michelin guide. They come in, you don't know they're there. I get other reviewers as well. It's not just the Michelin guide. Mm-hmm. They pay their bill, they leave, and then they'll write a review in the local press or the local catering magazine or online, whatever it is. And I respect that, because they're not. If you're paying the guy to come in, you're going to make sure everything's not 100%. Whereas when you're not paying and you don't know they're coming in, well, if they have a good meal, good, we're doing something right, If they have a bad meal, you're going to go, why is that, So, we're kind of different on that.
I think I'm always happy to pay for an audit, but an award, paying for an award, and obviously I would just want to delineate here. I don't mean paying for an award, but paying for the audit to then get an award.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, whatever you say, imagine you walk out the front of the house and the customer goes, "Oh, Paul, well done on your award. Oh, how does it happen? How does it work?" "Oh, well, we go online and we go to a website and we tell them to come and we pay them £100 for the visit," and they're like, "Oh." All they've heard now is you had to pay for the visit.
Yeah.
And yes, and I always say, if you have to explain something really hard to people, they've already lost. They're not listening. So all they've heard is you paid for it, and so there's a weakness there. I'm not saying it's the be all and end all, but for me, there's a weakness there.
Totally, yeah. Like I say, we push high standards for ourselves anyway, and whatever criteria the stars getting awarded or the rosettes are getting awarded, whatever award that is, like I say, we want a nice dining room, we want good service, we want good food, precise food, good menu, good ingredients. And if that's not enough, well, obviously it's not enough, but we strive to give everyone that good experience. And I think if we were to go chasing, it might detract that experience.
Yeah.
I remember when I first opened, it was the first or second year I was open, and I got a phone call from a journalist saying, "Oh, congratulations, you're in Waitrose Good Food Guide." And I was like, "Oh, right, okay." And she seemed quite puzzled by my response. And how does it feel? And I goes, it feels really good. Yeah, I'm happy to be in the guide, blah, blah, blah. What I didn't realise at the time was I was obviously aware of the good food, but I didn't know it was the Waitrose Good Food Guide. I just thought it was a good food guide, So I thought the Waitrose Good Food Guide was just a little guide at the checkout, when you're checking out Waitrose. And I was quite blasé about being the Waitrose Good Food Guide. And then I went and Googled it, and I was like, oh, okay, right, that was a bigger deal than kind of what I gave to the reporter. But at the time, I think we were the 110th restaurant in Scotland to be in the Good Food Guide, the Waitrose Good Food Guide. And yeah, just to put that in context, in Edinburgh alone, there's 2,500 places to eat. So, yeah, it was a big deal. Unfortunately, I didn't realise how big a deal at the time, because obviously you've got your AA and your Michelin. They're the bigger, more reputable publications, you know. But, yeah.
Yeah, I guess not everyone can aspire to those standards. It's just impossible. There's just not enough. There's a supply and demand issue going off there. But I think a lot of restaurants I talk to sometimes say to me, I wish Andy Haler would just come to my restaurant. I don't need the Michelin star. I don't need any of this. I just want him. And I think one thing people don't realise about him is that he's been to every 3-star restaurant in the world, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think his goal is to go to a lot of 2-star ones as well. Yeah, and I bet he probably will. And I don't know. I just find myself reading his reviews sometimes and just thinking, wow, it's so detailed. Like,
I've read some of his reviews, and you're like, is that value for money? Did you enjoy that? You know, and I'm lucky. I've been to a lot of 3 and 2. That's my hobby. I like going and eating in good restaurants and having a good experience. And there's a few where you're like, wow, you know, I've had better meals in other restaurants, but I'm paying for these surroundings, you know. There was one 3-star in Paris, I won't name them, but it was way overpriced. The service was ropey, it wasn't great, but it was in an amazing building. They're like, this hotel was fantastic. And that's what you're paying for, you know. And you're like, would this have 3 Michelin stars if it was in a little 60-seater restaurant down the road? I don't think it would, you know.
It's weird because Andy Haler was telling me about a 3-star restaurant in China, I think, or Hong Kong.
Is that the one in the car park?
I think so, yeah. So why is that a thing? Like, and I asked him that, I think, at the time, and even he said you can't get rhyme or reason from Michelin. So, you know, they're not going to tell you why they chose it. They're just going to say, go and find out. And you think, well, you know, if you look at Gordon Ramsay Hospital Road, for argument's sake, which has had a 3-star for nearly forever since he's been there, and then you think, you know, this little car park at the end of the car park, you know, little door, and how does that? You know, was the food that great? And he said, he goes, I've been there. He goes, and I can't remember what his answer was, but he seemed perplexed by it too. Yeah. And I think his argument was they've just come to China, as in the Michelin Guide, and maybe they're just trying to drum up.
Right, okay, yeah.
You know, I guess whatever you say, that is a business too, isn't it? So
well, exactly, yeah. And you know what? I think it's only got 7 or 9 seats or something like that. So yeah. It's probably full all day, you know. I don't know. I've never been, I don't even know of it, but
of course it's full all day.
Just a constant stream of people coming out of his car park. But yeah, it's weird. One of the best meals I had was a Paul Bocuse in Lyon, and that's obviously the longest running, oldest 3 Michelin star restaurant. And what was refreshing about it was just great cooking. There was no foams, there was no purees and swipes, or, you know, all these modern techniques you're seeing on plates. It was just like fantastic food. And I was like, I can see why this has got it. It was very traditional. The next day I went to Toigro, again in Lyon. I think that's the second oldest 3 Michelin star restaurant. And wow, what a location. The food was amazing as well. And you're like, yeah, I can see why this has got 3 stars. And then when I compared both those meals, one reasonably modern, another one very old in technique and the flavours, and I compared that to the one I had in Paris, it just didn't compare. So yeah, it's quite frustrating when you get that and you're like, I don't get this, you know. But again, it's like it could be any kind of restaurant. Forget about Michelin, and you could just go to 2 Scottish restaurants. You're going to have an amazing meal on one, and maybe the other one's trying something different with the same ingredients. It's just not working. So, but that's a hit for other people. It's everyone's interpretation of what they like and what they don't. Yeah.
What's the next restaurant you're sort of really looking forward to going to? Would you say, like, you know, on this sort of level that you're discussing?
Oh well, I'm lucky. For my friend and my chef Dom, it was his 40th in March, and I was, what can I get him? So the older I get, the more I'm all about experiences. You know, going to a place or a location or a meal or whatever it is. So I got him a voucher for Core by Claire Smith. Mm-hmm. So he's like, like, we need to go together then, So I was kind of hoping he would say that. So in June we're going down the 7th of June. I think we're down Tuesday, 7th of June, and we're going to stay in a nice hotel. We're going to go down. I think we're early. I think we're 6:30, and have a great meal, and then a few drinks, and just enjoy the experience. But I think when you look at Claire Smith, our food looks fantastic. Just, and again, as a person, as a chef, she comes across amazingly. She seems a really nice person. But when you see the way she cooks, and when you watch her in her kitchen or when she's doing demonstrations, it's so clean, it's so precise. It's I love it when you see chefs at the pinnacle of their career and they're like that. I'm very much into neat and tidy. I hate mess. So when you see that,
she strikes me as someone who I wouldn't want to pee off. Number one, on a business level, because I think she's one of those people that you can tell, like, if you say you're going to do something, do it. You can just there's this sternness about her to some degree, but also it's almost like, what's the word? Like surgical precision. Like, you see what she's doing. Like, it is laser focused, isn't it?
Oh, totally. Let's say it's,
and that's a good thing, clearly.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, she's been at the top of the game for years now, and just like I say, I'm really excited to taste it. Like, see, the thing for me is she's making humble ingredients and elevating them, taking them, like the potato. There's a potato and a caviar dish and a carrot and lamb dish, I think it is. And I'm like, I'm trying not to look at social media on the menu too. I want a little bit of a surprise.
You've already chosen what you want, haven't you?
But I think, like, I'm salivating just thinking about that, But I think we're lucky in the UK now. We've got the restaurant scene compared to 20 years ago has exploded, and you've got all these amazing chefs. You look at Sat Baines, Daniel Clifford, Claude Bossy, and just to name but a few, it's and you've got a lot of I don't want to say up and coming chefs because they're already established, but maybe chefs that aren't as well known, like Tommy Banks. I'd love to go and eat in his restaurant as well, and up here as well. There's Roberta. She was on Great British Menu. She's got a little chat room. Again, they're close, but I'm close. I can't go there and eat, and it's only like 5 minutes down the road. It's great as a foodie, and there's food out there for everyone, and it's whatever cuisine you like, whatever style or flavours you like. There's stuff there for everyone, and I love it.
I think you're right. Britain has really, the UK has really come leaps and bounds. And I think you can't deny it. Even middle of the road restaurants do such a great job. I know. I feel bad saying middle of the road. I just mean at every price point, there's food for everyone. And I think we're in a country where more people eat out more than ever, basically, and there's something for everybody. If you're a snob, go to the best only. If you're not, and you fancy your Mackies or whatever, Five Guys and above that, go for that too. But there's also, like, there's amazing local burger places everywhere now. Like years ago, there wasn't really good, even at the bottom end. Look, it was on a burger van or something. But now look at street food. Look at how big street food is over here. I'm surprised by that, to be honlike I
think, in Edinburgh, we're spoiled for choice. Again, I love working and living in, I live just outside of Edinburgh, but like you said, street food, there's an amazing bar called the Pakora Bar. Mm-hmm. Amazing pakora, that's all they do. You go there, you've got like all these small independent restaurants as well that are very similar to Purslane, that are given great service, great food, at a really good price. You don't need to go to your Michelin 1, 2 and 3 star restaurants to have a great meal. In Edinburgh, we're just spoiled for choice. It's fantastic, and you've got the scenery, you've got the Scottish people as well. I think we're like friendly and welcoming, and if you come up to Edinburgh for a weekend, I'd struggle to say that you would have a bad time. As long as it's not raining for the whole weekend, which it probably will be.
Every time I've been to Edinburgh, it's been raining. Every time. I'm like, over the last 4 or 5 years, like, it's literally, you got to make. I can't remember where in Edinburgh I parked, and I was walking up to where I was going to go, which is just round the corner from what's Roy Brett's restaurant. So it's just around the corner from there where I needed to go. Mm-hmm. And it was a 2-minute walk. And I literally walked through looking like a drowned rat. Like, I am short, so that doesn't help. And I was walking uphill, which meant I was going really slow, so I probably took in more water than most people. But yeah, I've always found that I've never been to Edinburgh yet, and it's been a glorious day. Like, but I think that's just timing. It's not Edinburgh's fault. They're not going to do it for me, are they?
We get about 2 weeks of nice weather, and then that's the rest is either overcast or raining somewhere or another. I was speaking to a table of two Americans last week. I think they're from Texas, and they were over, and we had amazing weather last week. It was stunning, and I said that to them because you obviously brought the weather with you. Usually, it's not, especially this time of year. It's usually a lot bit wetter, and they were really. We were actually expecting like be a lot darker and gloomier than what it was, but we weren't expecting rain at this time. And I was like, we get rain every time, So it's last year around about this time, we were actually in Stockbridge. Stockbridge is on a slight hill, and literally within 10 minutes, the bottom of the hill was about 4 foot in water, and that was going from dry, 10 minutes of rain. It was biblical proportions. It was crazy. All these businesses and houses. Like 4 foot in water, but yeah, it was nuts.
So one thing I wanted to talk about briefly is is a lot of chefs, restaurateurs, and so on. Most of anybody who's in the food business hate TripAdvisor. Some love it, some hate it. I always like to, when I'm doing my research, is just have a look at TripAdvisor. Not, again, like Andy Haler says, doesn't mean a lot because, again, who's doing the reviewing? Mm-hmm. So I know one thing Andy Haler says is. What is it? The best restaurant in London isn't the best restaurant that's on TripAdvisor. But your TripAdvisor is very good, and obviously we all take notice when things are good more than when they're not. But what's your sort of policy there? Do you engage with TripAdvisor? Do you try bring it in house? If it's positive, just acknowledge it and move on. Do you have a policy there?
Yeah. So many years, like when I first started. My policy was not to respond, and it still is. I'll explain why. We're lucky we've got a lot of excellent reviews, and I think we've only got 5 terrible 1-star reviews. And I think 3 of them are at least unjust. And I think everyone's a reviewer now. You look at the TV programmes that we've got on TV, and like I said, the dining scene's exploded in the UK, so everyone has got opinion. I don't disagree with that at all. So what we do is I look at TripAdvisor probably every day just to have a look, and it's nice to get all these excellent reviews and very good reviews. And if we do get anything below that, an average, poor or terrible, if I can and I know who it is, I'll get in touch with the customer and I'll get in touch directly rather than doing it online and letting everyone see the receipt. I think sometimes it can be construed as maybe being aggressive or defensive, or I'd rather have that conversation with the person, and I'm a bit frustrated they didn't convey that when they were in the restaurant. So I'll phone up personally. I won't let my manager do it. I'll do it personally and chat to them. And the reason we don't do a written email back or comment back is, see, when you read that horrible review, you've got all these emotions, and it's almost like a personal attack. So if you get straight on the keyboard and you were to write a review and you look at that the next day, you're probably, I shouldn't have wrote that. So for that reason, we don't reply to any reviews. Yeah. We acknowledge them in-house, and have you seen a new review? And on other sites as well, on Google reviews, and we follow all of them. Any kind of feedback we can get to see if we're doing a good job. The last thing I want is for people to be unhappy. But yeah, we don't look at that. But on the flip side, we kind of use it as a marketing tool, not a marketing tool. We want good reviews, and we you get tourists that come here, and they will look at top 10, top 20 restaurants in Edinburgh, and they'll go, let's go. The first 10, there's not anything that we're fancying, whether it's like different cuisine or maybe a cafe or whatever. Oh, yeah, this looks pretty good. Let's go here. And I think sometimes when you read reviews, you can read between the lines as well. So yeah, that's why we pay a wee more attention to TripAdvisor and Google reviews, because yeah, people do look at them. And I think there was one in Google, actually. We got a 1 star on Google. No comment, no nothing, just 1 star. And you're like, right, okay, who's this guy? We went through our bookings. We couldn't find any name resembling this gentleman. And then we went on to his other reviews. And that day he gave 15 Edinburgh restaurants all just 1 star. So we went to Google. We said, listen, we think this is a false review. If you look at his reviews, he's just went and gave another 14 restaurants 1 star as well, for whatever reason, But they left it on. And the annoying thing is when they leave reviews like that on, which is not a proper review, it messes up with the algorithm of where we come up in top Edinburgh restaurants. It's same with TripAdvisor. If we get a review like that, it will probably push us down to number 30 rather than down from number 19. And I don't know if it's just vindictive. I've got no problem with someone putting up a terrible review if it's a genuine review. That's what they think. That's fine. It's just annoying that they don't give you the opportunity to try and fix it.
I think in an ideal world, you just want them to ring up, or at least just whilst they're there and just say, oh, can I have a word? Like, we know it's awkward. Yeah, we know it's awkward. No one likes to complain. But it is that Britishness, isn't it? The waitress comes over. Was your meal okay? Yes, of course. And then they walk off and like, not coming here again. And you think, well, and it's just like, and we don't want to upset the waitress or the waiter or the restaurateur. We just don't want, it is that Britishness. Whereas, being Cypriot, we go out to restaurants in Cyprus and I almost sit there and I listen to my relatives and they'll say something to the waiter and I'm just like, whoa, like I can't believe they just said that. Yeah. But they're not being rude, they're just being very direct. And I guess I wonder where I'd rather be in actual fact. I'd rather be on the honest side. I always say to my customers, if there's something you're going to tell me, but just tell me, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I just want to get this right for you. It's weird.
I go out at the end of the night, I'm not during COVID, I've stopped it, but I used to go out and have a conversation with a couple of tables, or they would come into the kitchen and just want to express their gratitude, So when I first started, I used to go out and try and chat to the last couple of tables, and I would ask them, how was everything? And sometimes you can see them, and please, any feedback, good or bad, it's always nice to hear the good, but if I don't hear the bad, I can't improve. So please, any feedback, and they're like, because I was inviting our feedback, they might go, well, yeah, they would say, do we all start from the pod? Yeah, it was good. And then I wasn't too keen on maybe that, like bitty liver or whatever it was, or the texture of that. And I'm all right, okay, we'll look at that and we'll take your point on board. And thank you very much. And you're engaging with them, and because you've listened to their feedback, they're like, oh, there's no awkwardness. So it's, I think it's how you deal with them and take it like the complaints and the negative feedback and going, you know what, I don't agree with that. I'm not going to go out of my way to really get upset about that. That's just someone being awkward, or you do get awkward customers. It doesn't matter what you do, you just can't make them happy. It's
a friend of mine has a tactic for that, and he says if someone keeps coming in repeatedly, let's say they're coming once a week, they eat all the food, but they then complain. He'll just, after the third or fourth time, he'll politely go sit next to them and just say, maybe we're not good enough for you.
Yeah. Why would they keep on going back?
And that's the point. Yeah, and that's the point. He just says, maybe we're just not made for each other. You don't like our food, but you keep coming back. So, why punish yourself? Just don't come. And he said afterwards, one woman just carried on coming and never complained. I guess that's another problem. What if she stops complaining completely? but I suppose one thing I see is that there's big egos in kitchens or in restaurants, and I think some customers feel like, I don't want to say something. What if they shame me? What if they make me look a knobhead or whatever? So I can sort of see that aspect as well. I don't feel like that. I just don't want to break anyone's day. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I know how hard some people work. Yeah. So I don't want to be that guy that then, I don't know, says, and I don't know everything either. I'm not, and I guess also whether you like something or not is very subjective. It's a personal thing,
Yeah, totally. Like me,
just to give you a point, if you put fennel in a dish, I would absolutely love it, but my wife would absolutely hate it. Then I guess that's just, it's subjective is what I'm getting at, isn't it?
I think there was a restaurant I was working in before. I wasn't head chef. It was the restaurant in Manchester, and the customer asked for the fillet steak well done. He's paying a lot of money for this fillet steak, and the head chef goes, we can do that. I don't recommend it. Now, we did have other steaks to choose from, but he said, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not going to be great, He goes, but we've got braised Dover beef. Now, that's cooked all the way as braised. It's braised for 4 hours. I would recommend that over the fillet. But the difference in price was probably, at the time, about £11, £12. But he said, I think the customer will enjoy that more rather than a bitty well-done fillet steak. And the customer still goes for well-done fillet steak and then says, it's too dry. Well, we've give you it, but we'll happily do it. You want that's the way you want it. But we recommend you go for that because it's going to be well done. It's cooked, it's slow cooked, and you'll definitely have a better enjoyment of that than the well done fillet. And then, when they say, "Oh, it's well done," that's dry. You're like, well, yeah, okay. And then you get the same restaurant. We had the gentleman who was a business lunch for four people, and he's like, "I'll have my steak blue." So, okay. And it's typical, we send it out and he goes, this isn't cooked. And you're like, okay, well, how would you like it cooked?
I always find the blue steak person is all about the bravado, I think, sometimes.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I want to show everybody, look at me. And I remember, I like my steak quite rare-ish, and I don't, medium rare if it's a ribeye. And I remember I didn't know a lot, and I remember saying, I went to a restaurant and I said, I'd like my ribeye rare, and they said, you probably shouldn't have it rare. Again, it's the opposite to the ribeye that's well done, not the ribeye, the fillet that's well done. It's the opposite end. And they were like, look, there's a lot of interconnected muscle, the marbling, it needs to cook out. And I was like, yeah, go for it. You know better than me. You're the steak guy, and I'm happy to say that,
But that's where your staff come in. It's like, you know what, I'd probably recommend this, and it's. Again, it's all about the customer enjoyment. We've all been there. We've ordered like your sirloin. I like my sirloin medium, and when it comes and it's just off well done, and I'm like, okay. It doesn't ruin your night. It's just like, all right, okay. I was looking forward to a nice steak, and then I said I've got this bit so overcooked, and you're like, oh, great,
Yeah, at least nobody asked for their chicken rare, because that. They probably wouldn't have an opportunity to complain, would they? So, but we can. I suppose one of the things that we could focus on also is, I think I always like to say that I spend a minute focusing on what I'm doing well, and I like to spend as long as needed as what I'm doing wrong. And I think you're in the same camp there. And I think, but one thing I want to sort of pay reference to is the fact that, on your TripAdvisor recently, there was you could tell it was honest and it was glowing, and there was a review. And I could tell by the review that it was a couple, and they stumbled across your place and they genuinely felt like you nailed it, basically. Everything, whether it was service, the food, and they felt like it was special. And you could tell that they walked away from that probably saying to themselves, next time we're in Edinburgh, we're going back there.
I know the couple because that was me that spoke to them. So I was... we've got a little booth in the restaurant, and when I'm on my break, I sit there and I chill out, I do some work or have my dinner or whatever. And I heard behind me there's the stairs coming down into the restaurant. I heard some noise, so I went to the door, and there's this young American couple there, and they were looking for somewhere to eat. Now we had another hour until we opened, and I said, listen, we've just had a cancellation this afternoon, so it's a Saturday night. We've not filled it yet, so if you want, it's there. And I think they were a wee bit hesitant because they wanted somewhere to eat there and then, and they were hungry, and literally just got off the plane. I spent an hour in Edinburgh, and they were ready to eat. And I goes, just put it in perspective, usually we're full 2 months in advance for a Saturday night. And they're like, yeah, go on then, we'll take the reservation. So I put them in. And I had a chat with them. They were from Chicago, and I'd been to Chicago this year, so we were chatting away about that. And it was nice. They were just the first day of the holiday, and so they came back an hour later. I'd organised for a little glass of fizz for them, and just to start off their holiday nice. And they were like, okay, so they took that. They went 5 courses. We gave them an extra wee course here and an extra little glass of wine there, and they only had one glass of wine each. They weren't. I think they were a wee bit jet lagged, to be honest. And then we just gave them a nice meal. And they came into the kitchen to speak afterwards. They got a photo as well, so we were chatting away. And they goes, "Listen, we didn't actually realise what we we were getting into when we booked. And because it's probably one of the best meals we've ever had, and it was just nice. It was just. Yeah, it was nice giving them that start to the holiday, and hopefully they had an amazing 2 weeks when they were in the UK, But yeah, just making people feel like that. That's for not a lot of effort, we work hard, but to be able to give people an experience and make them happy and have a great night, whether you're with your partner or with your friends or other family or whatever it is, being able to cook for people and give them those feelings, it's a privilege,
And on the flip side, where I drew distinction there, or a connection, let's say, is that you went to New York and you told me on the phone that's you never told me this, but those two stories sounded very familiar. Is that you went to New York and that's almost what happened to you?
Yeah, so I went to New York. I've got a friend that was over there. I was catching up with my girlfriend at the time. She'd been travelling, and I was meeting her in New York. So I had about 4 hours until she arrived. So I went up, see my friend, and I was staying on Park Avenue. And on the way down from meeting up with my friend, I was looking for somewhere to go to eat. And I walked past this. It was like a bar, and it's a really, really nice bar. And I was like, oh, I could come back here and get some food, sit at the bar, have a beer, some food, and that's it, yeah. So I went back to the hotel, quickly got changed, got back to this bar. I realised there was a restaurant. I just never noticed the restaurant when I walked past it. And at the front door, there was 2 Michelin stars. And the bar was full, and I was like, oh, well, I'm probably going to need to find somewhere else. So I went in, spoke to the maitre d'. I was about to speak to the maitre d'. And as I said, have you got a table? There was a manager stand behind her. And he said, oh, is that a Scottish accent I hear? I was like, yeah. So it turned out his name was Duncan. He was from Dundee. And he pulled me to the side. We're having a chat, asking me why I was in New York. And I was asking him how long he'd been here. And he said, what was I looking for? To be honest, I walked past, saw the bar, and I thought that'd be quite a nice place to have a bowl of pasta. So he was like, yeah, he goes, leave it with me, 2 seconds. So he went up, had a look. He goes, there's 2 ladies over there. They're about to pay and leave. I'll get you one of these seats. He goes, it might be 5 minutes. I was more than happy. Yeah, that's no problem. So 5 minutes later, he beckons me over. So I go over to the seat, sit down. And he goes, whatever the barman's name, can I get a glass of champagne for Paul? And I was like, oh, thank you very much. So I got the glass of champagne, and then I ordered it was like 2 tapas-sized portions of fish, almost like cicchetti. And then I had a bowl of pasta for my main. So I had my 2 small tapas, and I'd ordered a glass of white wine to go with that. And then once that was cleared, I got this lobster and basil and tomato dish. And I was, again, Duncan brought that to me. He goes, this is a compliment to myself and the chef, and I was like, oh, wow, this is in New York, you probably expect it to happen in these quaint little restaurants, but not in a 2 Michelin star restaurant in New York, I was like, oh, I was blown away by just the act, I was, oh, thank you very much, and it was superb. And then I had my pasta and another glass of wine. I was chatting to the guy next to me and what he did, and he was in finance, he was in movies, he was in this and that, and it was just again, it was like that American couple that came in. That was the start of I think I was there for 5 days, and it was just a good feeling, a great experience. And it was that good, we actually went back there a couple of days later to have a proper meal in the restaurant. But yeah, that was nice. And it only happened because the manager, he was Scottish. We had that little connection. And he was like, wow, I want to look after a fellow Scot and say, welcome to New York,
So if I went, I wouldn't have been allowed in, would I? See, it's favouritism, isn't it? If I'd done that, oh my God.
Bias. It's the warm personality of the Scottish people. It would have
been like, is that an English accent I hear? Yes, get out. There's the door. So, no, I think one thing that is really appreciated from you is that you can tell, like, you really try to get that hospitality part nailed down, and you also like giving it, but you also appreciate being given it. And I think that's what's, and I think that's really key, isn't it?
I think it's nice when you least expect it. Like in the restaurant, we, like I said before, we ask for birthdays and anniversaries. And do you know what we do? Happy birthday or happy anniversary or congratulations, depending on what the occasion is. And we have petit fours, we take them out. And the amount of times you hear these gasps and laughter and like the reactions from people, and all it is a little happy birthday plate that's taken 10 seconds to write, put some pet fours on, but they're over the moon with that, and they're not expecting it either. And it's, for me, it's like a massive reaction for not a lot of effort on our part, but it meant a lot to the customer. And I get really, really annoyed when we find out that it's a special occasion or like a celebration and we don't know about it. So sometimes we find out about it just as they're paying. And they try to keep it quiet. I think sometimes they don't want to sing for the rooftops that it's their birthday. So we managed to get it out, and they're like, "Oh, really?" And you see them at the end; they're glowing because we never knew. They never told us, but we found out.
There's a restaurateur in New York that I really follow called Danny Mayer, and he wrote a book called "Setting the Table," and he does this thing where, well, not him personally, but his team. So if you book to go to, let's say, Gramercy Tavern, they would then, if they know you, it's a lot easier, but they would look out for you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then they figure out, well, is this person a foodie? Do they like privacy? Do they want to sit in the corner on their own? Are they eating on their own? Are they here for a funeral? Do they like putting photos on Instagram? Trying to figure out, get into the head of that client who's eating there. And I thought to myself when I was thinking about it, that sounds weird, but actually it makes sense, because if I was working and I was going on my own, I'd probably just want to sit in a corner somewhere or at the bar and just eat, whereas if I was going with my wife and I then said, it's an anniversary meal, they'd pick up on that, you see, because someone didn't tell them that it was an anniversary meal, So I quite get how they're trying to craft the whole experience around that person's reservation.
I think now, back in the day, it was down to your manager, your maitre d' that was taking the bookings to almost memorise that they were the file of facts of the restaurant, and usually the owner would be in the front of house, and they would know the regulars, they'd know what table they like. We've got that over time as well. We've got a lady that comes in every Wednesday. She'll sit on table 8, and when we had a la carte, she used to order every lunch. She'd order a la carte. She doesn't drink, but now we don't have that carte, so she would go, "Paul, just do me a start and a main and a dessert," and we always give her a little amuse, and we know she likes scallops, so we do this. And if we're putting a new dish on the menu before it goes on the menu, we might give her a little try and go, "What do you think?" And she gives us her honest opinion. And we've got other customers as well that we know as soon as they book, this is where they're going to sit, this is what they're going to drink, this is what they like. Now obviously we're a smaller restaurant, but when you've got a big place like Gramercy Tavern that's doing God knows how many covers a day, that's a different level when you've got, it'll be dedicated staff to research your customers and see what are their eating habits, like exactly what you said there, and that's taking it to the next level for the customer experience,
It is indeed. One thing I'd like to finish with, because you've been so generous with your time, it's immense the amount of time you've given me today and on the phone last week, is who really who do you look up to? Who inspires you? Who do you think has been, I don't know, it could be multiple people within the industry. Who do you sort of look to, or have you looked to in the past, or whichever?
I think, obviously, my first head chef when I was at the Balmoral Hotel, Jeff Bland, I never really had much interaction with him because he was this 5-star hotel. He's managing all these, Michelin, at the time it was #1 restaurant. You got all the main kitchen, the butcher and the larder and the pastry, and you got Hadrian's Brasserie at the time, and Pam Corp. So he's overseeing all that. So you don't really have much of an interaction with him. But it was the way he carried himself. Like I said, he would come in, say, "Good morning, Paul. Good night, Paul," and all the other chefs. He was very, I think I've seen him shout twice in about 9 months I was there. It was, but he had a tone, like probably very similar to what Claire Smith would be, where I think he had a look and he didn't ask twice, and I liked that presence he had about him. And then going forward, once I started actually working in kitchens and getting to grips with the industry, I used to look at, I worked for Mark Pure White in Manchester, so I worked there for 2 years, and again, the reputation he had, it was one of his restaurants. He wasn't in the kitchen. I met him twice, just as he came up to see how the restaurant was doing. But again, working for the head chef there, David Wolf, he worked for Marco for many years, so I had that same kind of respect, the fact he was working for Marco for so long. And then obviously you must get mixed reviews on him, but Gordon Ramsay, I think you look at what he's done, and he's became more of a TV chef now, but when you look at his career, he worked in a lot of good, hard restaurants to get where he was. And I know people that see the TV shows, Hell's Kitchen and stuff like that, shouldn't be talking to people like this, blah, blah. Because he's got head chefs on here that say they're amazing, but they can't cook a scallop. No wonder he's going to have a heart attack. He needs to stop that show, But I think when you see him, there was a programme, Boiling Point, when he first opened Hospital Road, and he wasn't really shouting at the top of his voice, but he was talking to people very sternly. And when someone of that caliber kind of says to you, "Jump," you're like, you do it. You don't question it. And I think he's came out recently and said that he had a lot of credit. I think he had £1 million mortgage or a couple £1 million mortgage in business. The same things I could relate to on a smaller scale, but he's on a bigger scale. But I think the success he's got and the standards he's got, he doesn't let that drop. And I've got a lot of respect for him. And I know a lot of people that will probably disagree with that and think he's a bully or this or that. But I can see why they think that. But from a professional point of view, he's worked hard to get where he is. So I can't deny him that,
I think for me, he wears two hats. He's a TV persona and he's a restaurateur. And it's a big business restaurateur, obviously, and many would disagree with that. But his restaurants, you don't really see them in big scandals. They're all run really well. Look at the level they're at. He clearly has a great team that trains people well, because look at how many people have come out of that Gordon Ramsay stable and done amazing. Yeah. So he can't be that bad. But he's a TV personality, and not being funny, all the people that give him the stick also tuning to watch him, don't they? So, so I think you've got to sort of say, he's not walking around his own restaurant saying, "You effing honey," it's not easy. Because not being funny, we live in the UK and you'd be sued already.
I think, let's say, I'm probably looking at less from the TV chef point of view, but looking at from his early career and what he's done there. But I'll quickly name there's another two chefs that really inspired me. One was when I was working in Hertfordshire, a chef called Phil Thompson. He's got a restaurant, Thompson in St Albans. And just his drive, his work ethic, it was infectious, and again, he was one of these guys that you would work for, and because he was there every day with you, it wasn't like, I'm going to take the night off because it's quiet. He'll go, "You take the night off because it's quiet. I'll do sauce, I'll do pass." And he was always thinking about the kitchen, and he was always pushing us to our limits. And we had one dish, it was beef on robe. It was an absolute pain, to be honest, but basically it was a fillet beef. We poached fillet beef, put it on a crostini, some mushroom d'Uxelles on top of the beef, and then we had these field mushrooms that would roast and thinly slice, and we had to wrap it around this beef, so it kind of had almost like a turned mushroom pattern. And so if I got one on, I was fine. If I got two on the same check, I was fine. If I got three, start to push it, because I try to work out ways to do this dish. I got cups, I lined these cups with these mushrooms, and so I just had to put the beef in and put it in the oven for 2 minutes. I was trying it just by hand. I was trying just put on cling film, trying to decide the best way and most efficient way of doing it. It turned out the best way and most efficient way was just putting it on by hand. So I had about 12 slices of mushroom to put over each fillet of beef. So I remember we had on for it was about 2 weeks, and he came up to me and goes, "This dish," he goes, "it's a bit of a nightmare." He goes, "I'm thinking about taking it off." I said, "No, I don't want to take it off. It's not going to beat me. We will keep this on." He goes, "Are you sure?" I goes, yeah, I'm just trying to find out the most efficient way. So, like I say, just turned out we had to just do it by hand. And if I got any more than 3 on, I had to say, right, I need a hand here. Otherwise, it's just going to get cold, Yeah. And I think we kept on for probably another 6 weeks after that, But he was always like, what can we do that's different? How can we push the kitchen? How can we push each other, inspire each other? And I always look up to him and look to him for inspiration. And quickly, the other one was Jean-Michel. He's got a lovely little restaurant called La Garrigue in Edinburgh. And what I found with him was it was rustic French cooking from Languedoc region. And when I worked for Marco, we used to do choux farci. And we'd do about 40 choux farci in it'd take about 2 hours. It was a time-consuming process to do these choux farci. So when I went to work at La Garrigue, Jean-Michel said, got choux farci on the menu. Oh, here we go. I thought I'd got away from these. I'd literally went from Marco's to his. And, but what he taught me was his choux farci was like a whole cabbage. And he would stuff the whole cabbage, rewrap it, and braise it, and then it was like a wedge of this cabbage. And it kind of showed me the difference where Marco's was very refined and precise, whereas La Garrigue was rustic cooking. It was what your gran would cook you if you were from Languedoc region. Yeah. But the flavours were there. And the flavours were in both, but you didn't need to be precise to have the flavour. You could still do rustic and have the flavour. Yeah. And I used to help him plate in the pass when I wasn't busy in larder and pastry, and he used to have these big bag of baguettes next to the pass, and I'd be there cleaning every pan out, eating the sauce, wiping it clean with the bread, and it was amazing. It was amazing food. So he kind of taught me that it doesn't always need to be this pretty pristine plate of food to have flavour. You can still have a rustic plate of food to have flavour, and it taught me a lot of different techniques and ways of looking at food,
Yeah, that's amazing. It seems like you've taken something away from everyone that you've almost interacted with, or even if you've not interacted with them, you've pulled out all the good bits almost.
Oh, yeah, I think you need to. As a chef going for my career, as soon as I felt I wasn't learning, it was time to move on. Whether you like the chef, you like the brigade, I think just in life, you can get comfortable in the job you're in. And I always wanted to push myself and look at maybe different styles of restaurant, different chefs and the way they organise their restaurants. And I think exactly that. Every chef I've worked for, I've taken something, whether it's something I didn't like what they did, right, okay, I'm never doing that, I would do it differently. But the majority has always been, I'll take that on board, whether it's a way of working or a way of cooking.
Yeah, that's the best way, isn't it? That's the best way. Mate, I just want to say thank you for your time. This hour and 47 minutes it has flown. Honestly, I could talk to you for another hour. I really could. I
think your listeners will be asleep by then, But hopefully it's been informative and entertaining a wee bit.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I think the good thing with podcasts is that people can just listen to them, put them in their pocket with their phone, and whether they're doing prep or they're driving somewhere, you can just pick up on it whenever you're free. And I listen to 4-hour podcasts, and I don't listen to them all in one go because I haven't got time to do that. But you do just switch on and off when But no, massively appreciated. I'm really grateful for your time, Paul.
No, it's been a pleasure. And if you ever want to chat again, my phone's always there. So
you're amazing. And I can't wait to get up to Edinburgh because I know where I'm eating next time I come to Edinburgh.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Massive thanks to Paul for joining me on the Sarah's podcast, and once again, apologies for the delay in getting this one out. To follow Purslane or Paul, just head over to our show notes on the podcast player. Even better, get up to Edinburgh, jump over to Stockbridge, go and eat there. Be sure to share this podcast with friends and on social media. If you like this episode, then chances are your friends in the industry will do too. To see what we've been up to and how any of our solutions can help you, visit worldofsarahs.com.